Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. What we're going to do today is go into making natural cordage. So what we're going to do is we're going to make reverse wrap 2-ply cordage, and what we're going to use today is milkweed. We're doing the video now because usually from September, early September through October, the monarch butterflies lay their eggs on milkweed. That's the only food of the monarch butterfly. So I try not to disturb any of the plants until then. I've got one sitting right here beside me. I'll show you a better one here later. But very noticeable plant. I'll show you, I should have one that's still fairly green. We'll zoom in on later. But I was walking through and I did notice this one. It's got the characteristic seed pods. So that's what's actually caught my eye. I knew I was doing this video today. I just came out wandering through the field. Usually the best place to look for milkweed is a disturbed area. So like alongside the roads, you see them all the time once you know what you're looking for. This is a undeveloped field right here. There is no spraying for any type of crops. So this is prime habitat for the monarch butterfly. So this seed pod actually has like a fluff in it before it dries up, and it's an excellent flash tinder, but it's, in my opinion, just an emergency type tinder. You really don't want to burn this up if you don't have to, because like I said, you're destroying habitat for a specific species that can't use anything else. So anytime you're harvesting milkweed like this, you take these seed pods and you can scatter them, and here's that fluff right here. For a while there I had very little on the property, but I would actually collect the seed pods and bring them here. So now it's pretty prevalent. I've got a pretty good supply of milkweed here. So if I let it go too long, like if I tried to do this in the spring after the stalks are standing over the entire winter, a lot of times it's too far gone to make cordage with. So this is like a prime time right here. You can also harvest the stalks and store them up for later projects. It can be used green, but if you let it go too far into the year, it kind of dies off. I'll show you a better plant. But they vary in size, but it's just a hard stalk sticking up right now. So there's 4 of them right here. They get fairly large. The taller and thicker they are, the better cordage it's going to make for you. But the key thing with this is the properties of the plant. I can kind of twist this up and get to the fibers, and even without me doing a twist, I can barely break the thick part of the stalk itself. Here's another seed head. Okay, so we'll leave this here. So I'm going to go along the edge of this field, collect a decent sized handful of stalks. If I see a plant in better shape, I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll get set up and twist some cordage out. I was walking along the edge of the field here, and I noticed some more seed heads popping up. These plants are probably 5 feet high, so again, they're past the prime. The leaves have all dropped off them. We're similar to the stalks like I showed you before, but those big seed heads will stay on all winter, and that's a great identifier in a big patch of weeds like I've got behind me. I'm going to grab a couple plants and pull them out here. So the tallest plant I got out of that mess was about 6.5 feet tall. This one's still green. So you can see the leaf pattern. Some have leaves on them, some don't. But that characteristic milkweed pod for the seed heads. You know, this thing sticking 6 foot up in the air is what drew my attention to it. So it's not at all a hard plant to identify. So it doesn't have to just be this plant. Okay, it doesn't have to be milkweed. You can use inner barks. I've got tulip popper here on the property, not a lot of it. Cedar bark works great. You know, there's several types of weeds that work, but milkweed is something that's easy for me to identify, and I've got a ton of it here. So it makes good, strong cordage. So that's usually my go-to material. And again, unless I'm trying to change the location of the plots of milkweed, I usually take the seed pods and I'll leave them where I picked them. You know, if it was in a bad spot for me to work to, say it was a constant swampy area or something, I might move it to, you know, this is a nice dry hillside behind me. But I can cherry pick my resources that way. Here's another beautiful example. You know, this is probably about a 4-foot plant, so 4 foot up in the air above everything else is this big, beautiful seed pods. Great source of flash tinder in an emergency. You know, there's not enough, very similar to a cattail head. You know, there's no real heart of to make a fire with something like this. It just flashes up and would let you start a marginal material bird's nest. I'm going to keep going around the property. I believe there's some smaller plants also. Those might be a little fresher. Then we'll start twisting some cordage. So I got lucky. I was walking around the perimeter of the field, and over here on the edge of the corn, I could see there was a last little stand of green milkweed still standing. Now, this plant here, they mowed this ditch edge, the county did, probably like late July. So this stuff sprouted up, and it's not going to mature enough to form a seed head. But this area here is just constantly regenerated. The earlier stuff, the stuff that pops up in the beginning of the year early, actually will form a head, and that's how I keep getting these plants along the edge of the field like this. It's probably less than ideal habitat for butterflies because this is on a field edge and it does get sprayed, but for cordage it works great. We care less about that right now. So when it's green, you can barely even rip it. Cut this off. And you can see how the milkweed gets its name. It has a white sap, a sticky white sap that is, it's actually like a latex. It comes out of the leaf. So when you're working it, it's probably a little better to work with it while it's dead. That way you don't have, you know, you're not working with a Elmer glue plant here. This thing, it does get all over you. It's not the greatest thing to work with. But this is the plant that you're looking for. So if this was, you know, late summer and you needed cordage, here's the leaf structure. This is a fairly large plant here. You know, they'll get 12 inches high, maybe 16, 18 inches fairly quickly. It takes them all year to get, you know, up over 6 foot like those other ones. You'll see this has got chew marks on it right here. That was probably a caterpillar was eating that before it headed south. But right now, we got no concerns with that. So this is the fresh milkweed. I've showed you the how to ID a dead standing stalk. That dead standing stalk, you'll be able to ID that all year, all through the winter. Even through the summer, that stuff will still stay standing sometimes. So it's a great, really snaps out at you over the field. In this case, I saw the lighter green underside of the leaf. So I was basically looking at this. I'd see the light and the dark green flash back and forth. That's another indicator that I use to locate milkweed.